Cassandra Johnson, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, well, tell us a little bit about, I know you're a transplant from North Dakota and you find yourself in St. Paul. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, so born and raised in North Dakota, did like all of my elementary, high school out in this small town called Mott. Mott's the spot,
Nice.
how we remember it. And I went to college in Fargo-Moorhead for music. I started in music education, and I kind of had this like moment, like, I don't know if I want to be a classroom teacher. I think that there's more of like the performance
Yes.
side or like the entrepreneur side that I like. So I changed my degree to like a commercial music degree. And then once I finished there, a lot of my friends and family and like people I know from the music school ended up down in the cities, and I'm like, well, that seems like a hop-in place. So that's where, about 4 years now. I moved here in 2020. So
Oh wow,
Yeah.
you jumped in at
but
height of time.
glad I did, honestly. Yeah.
Good. When did you start playing music? Kid?
Yeah, definitely as a kid. I have like, I know I was singing from like the moment I was also talking, so there's that for sure. But yeah, I mean, we always had a piano around, and I was kind of like banging around on the piano and like taught myself some chords. I really liked like learning other people's songs and playing and singing those. And I was in choir and in band, so I played trumpet starting in 5th grade.
Nice.
Yeah, and I loved it. I wasn't very good at it, but I liked playing trumpet. And I was in choir, and my hometown had like we would do like a variety show every year. So at the end of the year, we would use basically the second half of the school year to prep with making like skits, and we had a show choir and a jazz band, and so I was like really involved in that too. So yeah, music, like I started pretty little, and it just like had little bits of it throughout my whole life. Yeah.
Well, I think it's fascinating too that you would go for music education and then kind of more commercial music to know that you wanted that to be your job.
Yeah, it took a while. I know I felt like there was like a longing even when I was in the like music program. I was seeing kind of what the people in the other degrees were doing and the type of music they were studying and the, I guess like even like their coursework or their projects, and I was kind of like, oh, I want to be doing that. Like I would rather take that type of voice lesson or take that class, but when you're in your, path
Yeah.
for education. So there was always like a whisper back there that was like, I don't think this is quite the right fit. And then when I did change, that started to like go away, and I felt like I was doing closer to what I wanted to, I guess, just like, learn more about. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm happy to hear about the trumpet because when you hear it in the songs, I'm like, ooh, because it seems unusual for people to put horns that aren't have the background in it or whatever. I like that, but I'm wondering if you have any other instruments that you play, or I know guitar is new to you too.
Yeah, guitar is like the new one. I tried a lot of instruments especially in college, trying to find, I still had that like whisper of like something isn't clicking quite yet. So I played trumpet, and I did a couple semesters in our percussion ensemble too, so I learned like a couple different like hand percussion instruments and steel pan. I think I did 2 semesters with steel pan. I did a class abroad in Trinidad where we played steel pan.
Fantastic.
That was really fun. So I think about that. That's one I do miss, where I'm like, I don't have access to a steel pan, and that makes me sad. I think that those are like the standout ones, but then, like once I started learning guitar, I like tried playing a little more bass. That didn't like really like scratch any itch for me.
Yep.
There's probably more, and it's just like leaving me right now. Yeah.
No, but I love too what music can bring to you for the traveling and, like we were talking before, friendships, community. What can you tell us about that it has brought you besides your love of playing and making music?
Yeah, definitely community. That's a big one for me, because especially in lockdown, I played so much of the guitar and wrote so many songs by myself, and it was comforting, but it was like, it made me sad at the same time.
Yeah.
Like I was in choirs, I was in wind ensembles, and so I like being in groups and playing music that way. Even in school, I think I spent more time like hanging out with my friends and like developing those friendships than I did like in the practice room, and that felt right. I wanted that more, and even now, like I'm more not. I think that like knowing I'm going to run into people I know anywhere I go in like any venue in the cities, I'm probably going to run into someone I know, makes me happy, and that's like I'm more likely to go out and like run into people rather than like, no, don't talk to me, or I'm here only to listen to the music. Like it has to be that. And then like even playing with other people, my bandmates, you know, like they've turned into like extra brothers at this point, and you know, the other groups I've played in, I'm like, these are now more people I can just like have in my community. So that's, I'd say, like the important thing for me.
Nice. Do you, having come from North Dakota, and as you said, you followed some folks, that's how we all end up different places, or do you have any advice for others who are finding themselves not from the cities? Because not being from the cities can be a thing. I mean, I moved here when I was like 8, and I'm still not from the cities.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm 28 now, so that's amazing. I have a 26-year-old daughter. I'm not 28, but yeah, if some advice would be awesome.
Oh, that is a good question. I think for me, it was like definitely the get out of your comfort zone and just go places. You know, I did try a couple of the groups that were, you know, maybe like we're gonna meet at a brewery and play board games, and it's all strangers, and none of those quite felt. It felt like there was a fear everybody was sort of holding, like we're all here kind of as strangers, and like the shells wouldn't open up. So I think it's like getting out of, for me, it was going to places, getting out of my comfort zone in places that already felt familiar. So like music spaces, or going outside and like being in nature, and like messaging people on social media. If you find out that they're also in the area, like go get coffee. That was a big thing for me too. I had been posting videos on Instagram, and so other people found my page, and somehow I also found out they're in the cities, and so I'd be like, let's go get coffee sometime, and then that can like branch out into, they might recommend other people, or you know, go follow this person, and then that can lead to like more friendships. So I'd say that was a big one for me too, is like cold call, like DM someone if you know they're in the cities and you're, or wherever you're based, you know. Yeah,
like that.
Should we play one of your songs?
Sure.
Yeah, let's. What would you like to play, and let's hear a little bit about it beforehand.
Let's go with the first song on the EP. Let's start with Settle Down. I wrote that one shortly after moving here, actually, and I definitely had I had like a anxiety that I had trouble staying in one place or holding down like relationships and friendships, and that's kind of what this one is about, is like the anxiety that's like, am I ever going to be able to like settle down, and like maybe I want that but maybe I don't, it might make me feel tied down. And then like the title almost of Settle Down is kind of like, it's kind of like me saying that to myself, like, you just gotta settle down, it's gonna be fine. Well, you're just in your 20s.
There's
like,
kind of the hint of it even in the song of people saying, I'm gonna have to, you know, which is, and I wasn't sure in that line, and you can quote it better than I can, but I was like, is that because your friends want you to settle down, or your friends think you want to be settled, or not settle down, you know, were you?
Yeah, I think when I wrote it, it was like more of a, I think people who know me know that I can be kind of a wandering soul. So when I would, you know, like, yeah, I think I might buy a house someday, it's kind of a like, not right now, like, are you serious? That doesn't seem like you. It's maybe like the perspective I had with that. Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if it was the pressure of people around you, or people recognizing that okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
like,
try
sure,
it. Try it, honey. Yeah, all right.
A little more of that, I think.
Nice.
Okay, settle down.
All right. Sorry, it just takes a minute.
No, yeah, I know.
It's my computer, so she doesn't know. I mean, it's because it's just a long, boring story. You wouldn't know that it was going to take a minute unless it was your computer.
Right, I know, and I was like, I probably should just keep talking. It's weird, like, I don't get interviewed often, so there's like a, like, how am I doing? It's like, it's very strange.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's weird to, like, hear the music, like, knowing it's like, oh,
yeah.
Because I did, this is the oldest song on the record, and I, like, maybe told you.
Here's the funny thing is, I am tempted to stop you because we would be just as happy to hear this on air.
Yes, I will.
I mean, I'm sorry, but I know because otherwise
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you again. I
Yeah.
mean, people can hear it
Oh, that's right.
on here, but then it seems a bit repetitive. So that I didn't mean to be rude at all.
No,
but
totally. Yeah, I will say that. I kind of love talking about the song.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
It's like,
That's
it's been a
awesome.
long
Yeah.
process. I don't know if I mentioned this or Sammy did, but I recorded everything and like produced it myself, and so it's like my baby. Yeah.
No, you're
That's
doing
not,
fantastic.
yeah,
Thank you.
that is impressive.
Thank you. It's like I've got the tools. I don't have like a time limit. I'm just gonna try it, and like had a couple moments of like, okay, that didn't work. I have to try again. But that's what I want to do,
Yeah.
And like met people doing this too. Like by doing it myself, I met other people just by like asking about processes. So yeah. It's cool. I actually haven't listened to it much since it's come out. So hearing it
Really?
again, I'm
Because
like,
you're like, yeah,
yeah.
looking at it at every little
Mhm.
second or
Yes.
yeah.
You almost
You're
get
like, I can't listen to it for a while.
You get a little tired.
Yeah.
Many places have I seen them for the last time or only in my dreams? How many people did I meet in my travels? I'm noticing a trend. I'm practicing my farewells for 5-minute friends, 'cause I've had so many.
Close.
Settle Down by Cassandra Johnson, who we are lucky enough to have in studio.
Hello.
It's lovely. That is a lovely song.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you were talking about how you did so much of the work of all of these songs. How was that process?
Yeah, it was long and it was a little messy, a lot of cables when you're by yourself. There's just like so much plugging in and unplugging. But I learned so much and like I got so much confidence. I've really struggled with maybe like self-validation of like, yeah, I'm doing this, or like what I'm doing is I don't know, like I don't need to prove myself anymore. And now it's like I don't feel like I ever had to, which is really nice. But it was fun. I mean, I took my laptop and my interface to people who played on the record. So my bandmate Joe, who did all of the keyboard parts, I just went to his house and we just like plugged in and one day like went through everything, like super easy. And it's like, it's easy when the players are also so good and they can just get it done. Guitars I did just at home. Bass, my friend Brian came over and same thing. We just did every string instrument. No, not every string instrument. The bass, electric bass and guitars were DI, and then I recorded one upright, one double bass, which was kind of fun just to Google, like, how do you do that? And same thing, we did this in my friend Joe's basement. Our friend Matt Blake came in and he crushed it. He like hashed out the parts in a couple takes, I think. And on one of my songs, Empty Seat, he also plays like a table saw, or like not a table saw, like the shop tool. Like he like pulls his bow across it and it makes like the spookiest sound. It was so cool. So I can also say I like mic'd a saw for my record, which felt very
so
fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hazard pay for that for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? Like I should have had a hard hat on for tracking. So that's like the stuff I remember rather than the like, I did a lot of like programming of things too. Like the strings most of those aren't real strings, and so like those are programmed, and like that was really fun to do, but the highlights are like those unexpected turns. Yeah.
Well, and I think whether you ever do it again or not, now you have the confidence, now you know what to ask for, now you know, I mean, I think that maybe someday you'll have people
Asking her.
doing every little side of it, you know,
Yeah.
but, or maybe you won't, you know, or you'll choose not to, but I think just knowing, as you kind of had said, now you know you didn't have to.
Yeah.
But there's a huge difference between knowing how to and choosing not to.
Right.
And jumping into the water and saying, all right, I'm going to swim with this.
Yeah, that's just it too. I'm looking at like all of the unfinished projects I have now, and it's like, oh, these feel so much more approachable. Or even like little things when people ask for my input, I don't have as much of a like, well, I hope I said that right, or I hope that like made sense. You know, there's a like, no, I'm a professional and I'm doing this, and like even from the producer's seat, like I loved that part of it almost more than the playing and writing, which I wasn't expecting.
Oh.
Yeah, it was very fun.
Your teacher brain is coming
I
in
think
there
so.
a
Yeah,
little bit. Yeah,
totally.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's fun. Like just the self-discovery of that too.
Mm-hmm.
For finding that even through the music writing and how it has taken you.
yeah,
I love that.
definitely.
And you're saying you have a lot of unfinished projects, but this project was were you saying this was one of the oldest songs on the?
Yeah. Settle Down is the oldest song from the EP. I wrote that one like right after moving here. It was maybe a couple months after, and I still don't get tired of that one. Every time I perform it, every time I like have heard it, like that's one I didn't get sick of. So it's like it's still kind of my favorite from the record, and I think it's just like, I don't know, it's got a soft spot. It was one of those I wrote it without thinking kind of songs too, and you know, sometimes the editing is fun while songwriting, but I like when they just happen and it's like I don't have to touch that. It's gonna be what it is, you know.
What's funny is you obviously have the technical skills and the musical skills and everything else, but it also seems like you're a very intuitive person, because you've talked a couple of times about, and then that didn't quite tick, so I tried this and that did, and that is that sort of how you work? How do you decide? Yeah, that ticks. That's gonna start working for me.
Oh yeah, I think sometimes it's if it doesn't make me cringe. If I
hey,
yeah, I'll write something and be like, oh, I don't know. Like
no,
maybe
I'm gonna pretend my twin sister made that one.
Exactly,
Yeah.
like nobody's gonna hear that one. Delete that voice memo. I think
I love that image.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. When do other things click? I take breaks for sure. Like if I'm definitely a hyper focused person, so like a lot of these songs, the full arrangements came in like a day. I just sat down and was like,
wow,
I know what needs to happen, and then take a break from it for a few days, come back and listen, and that helps me figure out what works and what didn't. And like I had gotten this advice at one point on like, when you feel stuck, make like the worst thing you possibly can, and that helps get things going too. Yeah, even in like programming of stuff, it's like I had many times just like, I'm just gonna throw my fingers on the keys and see what that chord is, and kind of like stirs up something. Yeah.
And I read that I don't know if this is how you always operate, but pieces of art inspires some of your work, which I love that you create from that. Is that your normal go-to, or what's your process?
You know, I didn't think it was for a while, and then I had other people who listened to my music start to point that out. Like, you seem really influenced by nature and art and referencing these things, and I was like, oh yeah, I tend to, and now I'm aware of it, so when I do start to songwrite, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of going back into a pattern. Like my song Tumbleweed has so many art references, but even like the visual of the tumbleweed on the prairie and like where could it go, like those are the things that I'm drawing from. I'm like very much nature, you know, because I like to write about feelings too a lot, but I don't want that to be my only thing. I think I try to find almost like the connection of like visual and the emotion. Yeah.
I'm wondering too, now that you say that, of outdoor and nature, maybe that's your draw for the slowing down in the rural places, so you can get inspired and take some of the stuff in because you're slowing down and not having the busyness of the city. And
yeah, totally. And like even just social media, how many times I've wanted, like, I'm just gonna delete my Instagram right now, you know, I'm tired of looking at my phone. And I've noticed a lot more lately how like reliant I've gotten on my phone and technology, and it is starting to drive me crazy because I have like a feeling like, is that taking from my inspiration or taking from my creativity? So I agree. I do think it is like whenever I go somewhere rural or slower pace, I'm like, I miss this. I crave this. Like,
Yep.
I do like, I just moved to a new neighborhood in St. Paul, and it kind of has that smaller town feeling to it, which I'm very comforted by. That feels nice.
Good.
What I always like to look at the geography of a song, like tumbleweeds. You're not going to read a song about tumbleweeds from New York City. And frankly, you're only in certain parts of Minnesota would you hear something about that. But I love how where you grew up impacts you from that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking a lot about home at the time too. Like I had I just lost my dad, and my hometown like suddenly wasn't like my town anymore because we sold both my dad's house and my mom's house kind of in the same year, and so it was like this like I feel really uprooted now, as someone who is a wandering soul. Like a place that was like a foundation is now gone. So a lot of these songs was like picturing North Dakota just from like missing it, I think, or missing home and like my childhood, or like I reference a restaurant my parents owned when I was a kid, like maybe until I was 5. I don't have many memories of it, but that's like that is a memory of that place that I will never go back to, and so that's like I don't know if that's making sense with your question, but yeah, I've been thinking about those things, or was a lot in this writing.
I always I love the ombudsmanship for where you're from. I think somebody will hear that song and say, oh, maybe I'm going to go visit that place sometime. I know where she's from. But I think also it's the touch points that whatever, most I grew up in St. Paul, so for me the river is a huge, but I've lived in different places, or I'm sure you can think, if I were to ask you about Trinidad, you'd think of some nature places that now that you've moved to the cities, do you find yourself writing about Minnesota things in the same way?
Similar, yeah. Like I have a really big pull to Lake of the Isles. I love walking that lake, and that I lived around there when I first moved to the city, so it felt kind of like a escape place when I was feeling really uncomfortable. So I've written like a couple instrumental things that like came from like thinking about Lake of the Isles. Friendships too. I've written about a lot of friendships I've made and like connections I've made, but for some reason those ones never leave my door. Maybe it's like a timidness where this feels like kind of like, is this silly, or is this like I don't know, it's different from some of my other writing. But other things with Minnesota, I think there's like a general like I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be, and so I think most of my writing probably is going to have some of that, like as far as like geographically, maybe sometimes I don't like the apartment I'm living in, but like I like Minnesota and feel very like, oh, I'm comfortable here. I don't feel like I did when I wrote Settle Down, if that makes sense. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's an absolutely good thing.
Yeah.
Should we play another song?
Yeah.
Play some, what would you like to play?
What all did I submit?
You had mentioned Sweet Senses or Empty Seats.
Oh yeah, let's do Sweet Senses. That one's kind of fun.
Before, I'm gonna remind folks you're listening to Mostly Minnesota Music on WMCN 91.7 FM, and we have got Cassandra Johnson in studio. We're about to hear music. Let's hear it. You want to tell us a little bit more about the song while we take care of a technical difficulty?
Yeah.
Oh, no. All right. We'll save it. We'll hear it in a minute.
It should be.
I'm gonna leave. Here we go.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, I was like, I swear it's saying it's on.
Okay. There we go. Where do you live in St. Paul?
I'm on Dayton and Victoria. I just moved over there, and I have some walking distance of Grand. Over on like that pocket. And
nice.
I love it.
So I gotta close my eyes and I'll think exactly. So is the Humanities building right there, the Humanities Center?
Ooh, maybe.
Here's the funny thing is, so my grandma taught high school, all
Yeah.
girls Catholic high school. That's not very far from there.
Okay.
It's St. Pauli.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But I think it might be closer to. No, it's just close to there. Yeah.
It's like I'm trying to think of what else is over there. Do you know Jay Selby's
Yeah.
restaurant? It's like walking distance of
Yeah.
that little pocket.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
as I said, I know it so well that I'm trying to picture
Oh,
which
right.
house. I mean, it's that.
Oh,
I
that's
live
what-
about a mile this direction, and I grew up
Okay.
more this direction. But
Yeah.
nice, yeah, that
Yeah.
would be a nice.
It's nice. I even like being able to like take a short walk after the sun goes down and feeling like I'm kind of safe. Because
Yeah.
the place I was before, I liked my unit, but I didn't feel like safe in that area necessarily. And so like now it's like, okay, there's a lot of kids around and like the neighborhood watch and there's a quietness. I feel like I can like go around the block, which
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like. I love walking at night. In fact, I think that has like an impact on
The
my writing
quietness,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Even like in the winter, like I like the
Oh,
winter
I
walk.
love it because
Mhm.
then the lights of people and you can see,
Mhm.
the coziness of everybody like tucked in.
Yeah. All the trees and like
Yeah.
the, I love Christmas lights too. I'm a
Yeah.
sucker for it. Like
Yeah.
taking that all in.
Yeah, I understand that.
Well, you can hear the bells from the cathedral.
Yeah.
That I love that. I mean, I went to many Catholic schools. I'm not
Mhm.
religious at all, but
Yeah.
but the bells to me are like,
I'm a sucker for the bells. I'm a
Yeah.
sucker for even just a like beautiful church. Like
oh,
yeah. I'm with you.
Windows.
And the cathedral
Yeah.
is gorgeous. It's very, very pretty.
It's beautiful.
If I'm on a walk, I get the bathrooms are downstairs. If you're on a walk and you're cold,
just sneak on in.
They won't ask questions. They won't
That's
ask.
fun. I would hope they're church. Yeah, just come on in.
Yeah, they're really good. It's funny. Yeah.
It's good.
I stopped there to use the bathroom before the Bands Off Our Bodies rally, and I was like,
They're like, oh, she's
I
coming
think
in
you know
again.
my grandma.
Yeah.
Who's long gone,
They're
but
like,
yeah.
sure.
But it's
I
good
know,
to know
a lot
those
of
places
places.
where you can sneak in and
Exactly.
get warm for a
Honestly,
minute or
yeah.
bathroom
The
or.
bathroom. That's a big one too. Where like you gotta know like how long
Uh-huh.
can I walk for?
Yeah.
Yep. Sweet Senses by Cassandra Johnson, who we have in studio. That's a pretty song.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my bop. I kind of like that's how I think of it. It's the upbeat one, and one that I went really back and forth with on like this was one that like does this make me cringe? Does it not make me cringe? I think it's an insecurity of like writing a bop basically. Outside of like I was definitely writing a lot like heavier songs at the time or like very like finger picking folky, and then this came out and I'm like, what is this? But it gets a lot of positive feedback when I play it live too, so I was like, okay, I should listen
Yeah.
to that maybe
Yep.
instead of the insecurities.
Well, and I think of when I listen to music, there are songs that when I listen to them first, I'm like, ugh. And those often be my favorite songs. Like on an album. And that's why I kind of love the idea of an album. And I don't always get albums anymore, you know, that kind of thing. But you're like, yeah, that song. But there's something about, and cringe is a little different, but sometimes the cringe, it will be like, oh, well, that's grown on me.
Mhm.
That's, you know.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's pulling the
Yeah.
a feeling out that you are
Yeah.
cringing and not the song or
Oh
something.
yeah, there's that too. Like this one is definitely like about like love and like early like on in a relationship or like a little past the honeymoon phase, but you're still like very excited. And so I think that too feels like a not to like diss anyone who writes songs about like love and relationships, but I'm like, oh, I don't really do that. So that feels like maybe that feeling
Yeah.
is more what it was, but that's interesting.
Well, I like to, like, yeah, some of the songs, they're like, at first, but marinate. And then you're like, yeah, it pulls you more and it's just where your mindset is or the weather or whatever. It's funny how all the things can influence the way we hear things,
Oh,
too.
yeah. You know, there are songs that you love to listen to in the summer, and there's
Yeah.
summer songs you listen to in the car, and some of the songs are. And with that in mind, where do you think the best place to listen to your music? I mean, do you have something where you're like, that'd be a good one for a run, that'd be a good one for a
Yeah.
cry?
Oh man, I've definitely got good ones for a
Yeah.
cry. I think for sure on this record, Tumbleweed, Where Will the Wind Take You, and Still Getting Used to Life. I mean, those ones still can make me cry.
Yeah.
And I'd say, like, I see Settle Down as like I've always called that one my travel song. I don't know why, but I feel like when you're on like a road trip, that's a nice like
Yeah.
song in the background. And then this one, Sweet Senses. I don't know, this is probably a summary
Yeah.
kind of bop. Yes, I feel like it depends on the song for me, but yeah, as a whole, it kind of feels like a fall album, and maybe because I finished it in the fall, but as far as like this whole collection in one place, probably the fall. Yeah.
I was going to say, I get that because we're all kind of settling in. You're getting the cozy. You aren't running around like the summer, and you start feeling the feels.
Yep.
And then you listen to it and go, oh, yep, I connect.
Yep.
So I think,
Yeah.
the fall, and thank you for giving people for that. Because it is nice to have one of those songs that go, oh, yes, I needed to let that out, that feeling or that emotion,
Yeah.
and you pull it out.
Thank you. Yeah. That's what like has drawn me to music for so much of my life too, is like I'm not as quick to cry, and sometimes I like even can get insecure about that. Like, I know that I'm feeling emotions around this thing, why am I not crying about it? But then music, like so, like, it could be a song I've heard a million times, but like that first note or that one spot every time will make someone cry. And so there's kind of I've had friends tell me that about these songs, and it's like, oh, like I've done the thing,
Channeling the things, yeah.
It's like, it feels very like special, because I love the slow songs, I love the ballads or the heartbreak songs, but then I can get really insecure about writing those ones because I don't want to maybe be like pigeonholed, I think is kind of a fear, but yeah, so that's nice to hear.
Even hearing you talk about, I am Heather's a good weeper. You like to cry at the songs,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and I just don't. I don't. I mean, it doesn't mean I don't like them, but
Yeah.
you're like, and I know some people cry at the songs. I'm like, oh, that is how I would have put that too.
Yeah.
Which is I recognize it, and they can be very cathartic. But yeah, I think if you can bring that out in people, that is a gift
Yeah.
for people at a time when they need strange gifts.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Human emotion. It's like very, like, it's important, because if we're not feeling, then, we can turn into hard shells, and like, that's not nice to us or the people around
Yeah.
us.
No, and I think music in some ways, it gives you the freedom to be very emotional for 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, I can put this on, or a whole album, however much you need. But I think sometimes putting a parameter on it as the listener helps quite a bit, and then you can kind of walk and have it feel cathartic. Have it feel like, okay, now I can.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, whatever it is, now I can go to my new job, or now I can I can walk by that guy in the street and not think about him, or whatever it is.
Yeah. We have to like release somehow, whether that's like talking about it or crying or, creating. Like, every one of those can maybe be like needed for whatever it is you're like working through. So like, yeah, I kind of like thinking about it like this, like, okay, yes, here's the thing I'm going to do right now. I'm going to listen to the song. I'm going to let myself cry. I did that this week. And so it's it's great.
Yeah.
Do you get that too? And sorry if you said this, because I didn't. Writing it, is it cathartic for you to write and kind of release? Because you have had a few heavy things happen. So if that is another gift that it gives you.
Absolutely. From everything from like the smallest detail of like, what word am I going to use here, to like the whole picture of like, what's the artwork going to be, or like the creating of like the sound, landscape. Everything has been cathartic for this record, and if I actually feel lighter now that it's out. It was heavy the first couple days, where it was kind of scary almost, that like, okay, people can hear this now, but like, sometimes when I'm writing, there's almost like a tunnel vision, or like out of body feeling, like Where Will the Wind Take You? That was one that happened similar to Settle Down. I just was sitting there, and I'm like, I can feel it. I can feel that like something was building up, and it came out and I had my voice memos going, I don't remember writing it. It just kind of happened. And then I cried. It was like right afterwards. And that song, so many times I would add an element and do like the thing. I'd take a couple days and then go back and listen. And then that's when I would cry. Or the guitar solo. There's a moment in that song, I still cry every time I hear it because I remember the feeling from when I recorded it. So it's almost like a weird like empathy for me,
That's
that
awesome.
version of me. It's
That's...
very, very strange, but kind of like cool at the same time. Yeah.
Now, how does it go playing live?
How does Where Will the Wind?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
really, that one specifically, but just in general, how when you're playing it live for folks.
Man, it's gone differently every time. There have been a few times I've choked up and will almost think like, oh, I maybe shouldn't have done this one today. And there's been times where it's similar to like how I wrote it, where I almost have to numb a little bit in the moment, or like only listen to my keyboard player, and like that keeps me kind of grounded, closing my eyes. As soon as I like look out and see someone who maybe knows me or the story of the song, then like that's when it'll like crack. I haven't done this one, or I haven't done Where Will the Wind Take You? I haven't done that live yet since the recording, almost because it started off so simple. It was just a plucked guitar and vocals and piano, but now it's this huge thing. So I'm almost like, okay, how do I want to do it live? Do I want to go back to the way I was doing it originally live, or do I want to start to add some more of the depth that the recording has? I'm kind of like thinking about that for 2025. Yeah. And it is heavy. There's a piece of that too that makes it just harder to play.
That seems like a good segue into where are you playing in 24? You've got a bunch of music coming out, your shows coming up.
Yeah, I do. I have like a string of shows that are on like 777.
The 7. I noticed that. I was like, okay.
I know. I kind of laughed at that. I'm gonna definitely like market it that way. Like, these are the lucky gigs. You come on 3. It's good luck for the year. Yeah. So January 7th. That one's at the White Squirrel. I'm playing on the Eldest Daughter residency night. What is the next one? February 7th. That one's at White Squirrel. Well. Yeah, that one's just me. And I'm splitting that bill with the gated community. And then March 7th, I will be at Astor Cafe. I love playing there. And splitting that one with Riley Skinner. So those are the set ones for me. There's a couple Astronomy Town shows in there too. I don't remember the exact dates, which is terrible. But go find us on the social media. Then you can find that. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that band too?
Yeah, I love that band. We're all instrumental. Sometimes we'll cover songs where I'll sing a little bit, but we try to keep it to just the 4 instruments. That was like kind of a internet born band almost. I had been posting videos of myself playing guitar, and the bass player Michael found me kind of through like mutual friends and through those videos, and brought up like, I've got this project I've been thinking about. You seem like a good fit. So we met up, we jammed, and we're like, we need a drummer. And there was someone who also found me from my guitar videos, and someone who I found out was in the cities. So I messaged him. His name's Rob. I was like, you ever want to jam with us? And it was an immediate fit. First time we jammed, the 3 of us were like, this is pretty cool. And then Rob knows the keyboardist Joe, and was like, well, we're kind of a package deal, so if you're gonna take me, gotta take Joe. And we meet once a week, and whether that's like to really fine-tune a song, or just rehearsing for our live shows. And we're gonna get back in the studio in 2025, which I'm pretty excited about. This next round of songs, we have 1 EP out already. That's a fun place. It kind of scratches an itch for me, where I have like my songwriting side, and then there is like a little more like my instrumental voice, and I can pull from like those influences and put it there. It's kind of nice to like be able to have both, and separated in a way. Yeah.
I was gonna say that might influence some of your new writing then, just the being around that creative part.
Yeah,
too.
Totally. Those guys have been like very impactful on my like confidence too, whether they realize it or not. I think that is the first band I've ever been in, and especially on a guitar, and knowing how many other guitarists they had played with, and just my like knowledge of my level or like how much of a novice I was. But they like, you know, they were very encouraging, and like if there was a day where I'm like, wait, I kind of want to try soloing and seeing if like I can do this, and then like, nope, maybe not today. I actually changed my mind, and they like kind of have like that flexibility, like no worries, if you don't want to do it,
Nice.
we'll cover it. But then if there's a day that I'm like, no, I want to, and because they're all so good, it really kind of pushed me like, okay, I gotta catch
Step
up a
it
little
up,
bit,
yeah.
and in a good way, not
Yeah.
in a like pressure way, but like,
Yeah.
okay, these I really want to keep up with these guys, and now I don't feel like I'm playing catch up. It feels like we're all just like hanging out and playing music, which is really nice. So I'm so grateful for that, for those guys.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love that.
Nice. I'm a little bit looking at the clock on
Yes.
the wall.
Oh,
Would
yeah.
you like to play another song?
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
it. I think, yeah, you guys mentioned Empty Seat. We can go
Okay.
with that.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, this one's about loneliness, and it actually had like completely different lyrics. But there was one day I was working, and every lyric in the song now came to me like at work. I was just sitting there like bored, and it just popped
Wow.
up. I remember like one hand, I was like doing like the swipe text in my notepad, just like really quickly trying to get the lyrics out. But it's kind of about, yeah, loneliness and like the FOMO, like fear of missing out. I was living alone, had like, you know, just lost my dad, and like all of this was like, and I think it was cold. I think it was like a wintry, like, I'm just so tired of the, like my own company right now, or like,
Sick of myself.
yeah, I'm sick of myself, or I get very, what's the word I'm looking for? I have opposing desires all the time. It's like if I'm
Conflicted. Yes. Yeah.
If I'm outside enjoying nature and not playing music, there's like that little voice that's like, you should be
You should
practicing.
be. You should be.
And then vice versa. If I'm inside
Oh my
practicing,
God,
but it's
Yeah.
a sunny day,
Yeah.
it's like, get outside. And so that, I referenced that in one of these verses. And then the music was just kind of like, what if I didn't think so hard about it? What if I just made it like a simple little like jazzy 2-5-1, but made the chorus like a little uncomfortable, was I guess my thought around this one. I love this song, and I hope other people do. I think
Yeah.
it's the one that like gets brought up the least, maybe because it's like one of the lighter ones.
Mhm.
But yeah, I love this one.
All right. Let's hear it.
Empty seat.
It's going fast. This goes by very fast.
Yeah. Yeah, this will probably take us, so we'll probably just wind up quick
Yeah.
after it, because other DJs are likely to come.
Ah, got it.
And I like to try to model timeliness.
Nice. I get it.
I try to model things I want to see. It doesn't always work for me. Not here, in the world,
Yeah.
not here.
In the
They're here,
world,
they're fine.
in the home,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. Even simple things like we can just wipe this part of the counter.
I
Yep.
remember my mom going, here's the wooden thing, here's the toilet paper.
Yeah.
Could you,
Funny.
well, now I feel, I'm like,
Little things. Yeah.
my daughters, like, how many, putting the toilet paper behind on the toilet, that is not just, what else are you doing while you're sitting there?
Yeah. How is this too much work?
How is that too much work?
I think the one that has always bothered me, no matter who I've lived with or like if it's at home, is when people don't close the cabinets all the way. If they like
Oh,
are going
yeah.
to close the door and it's
Oh,
like this
yeah.
much space, I'm like, hey,
Just-
we're so close. Just-
So, no 2 points for you.
Yeah.
I
Like,
know, and then I get like, why does that bother me so much? Like,
yeah, that's
Because
fine.
it
We all have different.
feels, yeah.
If I walk into the kitchen and it's an old St. Paul and every cupboard is open, like how do you? And I'm the shortest one. Like how do you not hit your head every space?
Yep.
Because I know you're on your phones.
Right. There's that too. That's funny.
Oh, we all have our little.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God I am so stinking perfect.
If everyone was a little more like me, I'd be.
I
much
would be
happier.
much happier.
I am
That's
not
funny.
annoying at all.
There's no way
That's
I've got my
funny.
tendencies. That's funny. I get annoyed with myself though. There is that.
Oh,
Like, yeah, you can't get away from yourself.
Uh huh.
I just want a break of this.
Uh huh. It's always this, right?
mm-hmm.
It's kind of, again, it's kind of what this one's about. Just
Yeah.
the rumination.
Yeah.
I have a lot of songs written about that, just rumination. And Those are ones
I love
that's
that you
like,
have somewhere for it to go, though.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah, it does feel nice, honestly. Or like, even like playing them when I'm like in a bad place. Sometimes I'll
Yeah.
just play one of my songs. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cathartic. You know,
Ah,
it is helpful. It's very nice.
yeah.
This is one of my favorite parts too.
Yeah.
I love my
See,
keyboard.
this is this what the I can feel the ballerina for that part.
Oh.
I feel that.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is Empty Seat by Cassandra Johnson. Yeah, the ending to that song is just delightful.
Thank you.
No.
Yeah.
So that fits our holiday theme somehow.
Yeah, I
you
can
know,
hear that.
you picture,
kind
you know.
of snowy. It makes me think of snow
Yeah,
falling a
you
little.
know, a little dance in front of the tree or something
Yeah.
when you're a kid, or
I love
holiday pageants of time gone
it.
by.
Right.
That's. Thank you so much for being here. Can you remind us when you're playing, where people can find you?
Yes, I'm playing January 7th at the White Squirrel, February 7th at the White Squirrel, March 7th at Astor Cafe. You can find me on Instagram, Cassandra Johnson Music. I'm on all the streaming platforms, Bandcamp, just under Cassandra Johnson.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's been just a delight having you on. I am so glad that you found us here and that you have found yourself in the Twin Cities. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Are we ready for some more holiday music, Heather?
Yes, I just gotta pull up where we left off. So sorry for 1 second. We have a little Ben Weaver with White Snow.